bringing you great music for the community on IPL Radio.
Welcome back to IPL Radio. You have got me, Tyler, you've got Monique, and we have a special guest, Kylie. So Kylie is from the Major Breakthrough. That's your organisation. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I work with educating people around mental well-being and gender difference, so that people get a better understanding of who they are and how they work, and then they can relate to others better because they're not so worried about themselves or they're not understanding how they are.
Yeah. You've been here the last 2 days as well, haven't you?
Yesterday. Yep.
And we've always got some fun topics to discuss.
We do, because it's Women's Health Week.
Yes. Yeah. So you were saying that our topic for today is sex and libido.
Sex and libido, yeah. So
Yes.
Sex and sex drive, all things to do with women's health around and sex around those topics. So, so
pretty excited.
It's a bit of a fun topic to be,
it's talking about on a Wednesday morning.
There always needs to be more like education towards this sort of subject, so we can't complain.
So I guess from a women's health perspective, which is where I come from, I love teaching people how they work and the difference. So, you know, there's some cultural and social differences that we think and we perceive because of media and marketing and movies and just our culture, how our life is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how that comes to us and how we perceive it, like that's all set within us from a very young age, like 3 to 7 years old. By the time you're 7 or 8, you'll have all your beliefs within you. And they are usually guided by your parents, but, you know, life happens and life is life. But we're made very resilient and we're made very capable of developing despite challenges. And so even if you don't have the best parents or great role models or the best of the beginning of life, we still develop those beliefs, but sometimes they can be for and against and things. So when it comes into the gender space, and when I talk gender, I'm actually talking whether you were born with a uterus or whether you weren't, because that is about the sex. I'm not talking about how you identify, because there's a lot that goes into that, right from conception and the egg and the sperm and everything right through. But when it comes to sex, I think women have been sort of, for a lot of years, there's a lot of shame and suppression and stigmas and taboos. Like, you know, for a woman, if she sleeps with more than one person, she's a slut. And if it's a man who does that, he's a man.
They're kind of like championed, aren't they?
Yeah. So and their cultural and social sort of inputs into stuff. So when I work with women and men, oftentimes, like I sort of tend to work with them around sort of 30 to 60 age bracket probably. I work with all women, but usually it's mums actually with teen daughters. That's sort of where it kind of lands, and or beyond when they're heading into menopause and things. Now, oftentimes they'll have had a marriage or relationship breakdown. They'll be on their own. They might be trying to date people. They might be just wanting to find a good relationship. There's a lot of questions that come to me around sex, and for women, like we don't hit our sex peak until we're in our 40s to 50s, whereas men hit it in their 20s or teens and 20s.
So many things are making sense to me now.
I know. And that cougarism kind of comes into, like, you sort of can understand that now, like, because that's the matching sex drive. So, but I think the one message, if I could get that across to people, is as women, our sex drive should be exactly the same as men. Like, you know, everyone says, oh, men are always on, they're horny, whatever words you want to say, but for women, oftentimes we're not.
Yeah.
But we should be. But is it a case of we should be? So I'm not going to tell you that's right or wrong if you're not, because there's so much that goes into it. So
most definitely, like attraction,
but let's just go back to just the woman as herself.
Yeah.
So there's there's traumas and there's those beliefs and perceptions of herself. Like if she feels judged or criticised or condemned.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like her self-worth and confidence. Yeah.
And if her confidence is low, she's not going to be able to ignite her entire being just because she
doesn't feel good about herself.
And it doesn't even have to be a conscious sort of awareness of not feeling good about yourself, because it could be the most outgoing person you've ever met.
Most definitely.
Actually in that space. And
women are good at hiding things like that too. They can seem so confident, yet they're really not.
Yeah. So it's an interesting space. I love the work that I do, just sharing some of those tips and ideas and concepts, because sometimes women think that they're not doing enough, especially in a relationship. If the husband wants sex all the time and she doesn't want to put out, if I work with couples, I'm often talking about that sex for a woman does not start in the bedroom.
Yes.
Yep. It starts at 6 o'clock in the morning when, you're getting up and the kids are going a bit crazy and life is happening and, you're sort of barking at each other instead of, really supporting each other, or the kids are a bit going, there's a lot more to it. And for women, it's a layered thing, whereas for men, it can be like, let's just turn it on, straight off.
Yeah.
Some women, it's great that that's the way they are as well. They can just turn it straight on and be ready. But most women, probably I think it's 8.5 or 9 out of 10 women will be, it's got to be a constant thing.
I can definitely put my hand up for that. It has to start early. Yeah.
Start early. And laying the foundation is not as hard as it seems.
Yeah, if you don't make the bed, it's not happening.
And, just talk to me about my goals and dreams and aspirations, and especially if you've got kids, because a lot of that gets pushed to the wayside and forgotten about, and in the day-to-day catch-up of life.
Yeah.
So then when you go to bed and that's time,
you're done.
Yeah.
You just want to go to bed.
Just tired.
Yeah. But I have a 5-year-old, so I completely understand that.
Well, it actually probably doesn't get better.
Oh, God, don't tell me that.
Wait till they move out.
Yeah. Sorry to let you in on that.
That's okay. We're not hit that spot just yet, so I can't complain yet.
It does get a bit fun, actually, because we've got teenagers, so they're starting to catch on, when there's
they're aware.
Little jokes. Or innuendos, and they're like,
going to a friend's house.
Yep. So but my husband did put his hand up. He was like, if you've got that topic tomorrow, I might need to help you prepare. I was like,
oh, really? Yeah.
Thanks for offering.
Yeah.
But again, it starts in the morning. It doesn't start this afternoon.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, that's so funny. I'm like, do not touch me in the morning. I'm a person who likes to sleep though, so it's just don't wake me, don't touch me, just leave me alone, leave me in my bubble until I'm wake up.
When I'm awake, or bring me a coffee.
Yeah, I was just about to say, the second I wake up,
kids are sorted. And here I am.
The second I wake up, I want to know that the washing's been put on, the dogs have been fed, that
all the boxes are
and then I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be happy, and then I'm going to be in the best mood for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
I love being in a good mood.
Yeah.
It definitely it gets rid of that anxiety of whatever else is going to happen throughout your day once it's all gone. So
and I feel like that's where you feel better about yourself, is because these things have magically happened.
Yeah. And on that is once you are doing the deed and having sex, and your endorphins and all those oxytocin, all the really good vibes and hormones are pumping through you.
Yeah.
And those are the things that we need to reduce stress and increase our self-confidence and things like that, which also then help on that mental well-being space. So for women, it's so connected. For men, we can turn it on and turn it off.
Yeah.
It's compartmentalised in a sense. Their brains do work a little bit differently to ours.
That's why they look so good when they're cleaning.
Yeah. It's very attractive. But yeah, so it's something to remember that sometimes we can improve our mental health and our physical and our hormonal health by improving those things. But another part of that for women is as we get older, different things start to happen, and we've got really no one. There's not very many places that you can go to ask questions and talk about what's happening in a really safe space that you know when to get help versus it's because it's a problem versus it's just something that I'm just a change that I have to figure out and embrace and like, you know, for women who hit menopause, their hormones change. And so then they're a bit more dry. So that makes sex can be painful and uncomfortable and things like that. So you shouldn't have pain when you have sex. So if you have pain when you have sex, that's a problem and you need to seek help. And that's where someone like me can navigate those with the knowledge that is needed. I don't tell you what to do or how to do it without a lot of I work with clients for a few months about getting to know them and where they're at and if they've taken contraceptives and different things like that. And like even just taking contraceptives can change our body makeup and our composition so that we get drier or we have no sex drive or things like that. So sometimes those things can be the
so a lot of things that can affect it.
Yeah, and
I've heard
we're not aware of
are
it.
good for that too.
Yeah,
that can really change a lot for women.
Yeah, and it's and it's such a tricky space to navigate because if you go to the doctor, things can be normal. Yeah. But they're not actually normal, they're common, and because we're not taught what's normal and what to deal with ourselves and things like that, it's really, really almost uncomfortable and hard to get the information and to know where to go to get the right information and to make sure that you're not, wasting your time and your effort. And
that's where you come in handy.
Yeah. So a colleague of mine and I have been working on a project called Viva la Femme. Yep. For the last few months, and we brought some events to different areas around Perth to educate. So her space, Kath, is a previous senior Western Australian of the year, and she's won a heap of awards around teaching women about gynecological health, but she has also really advocated for women's health in a greater sense. So she's a survivor of vulva cancer. Okay. Oh, wow. And when she had that nearly 3 decades ago, she was pushing through doors, and the Cancer Council didn't even have a picture that had a picture of the uterus with the ovaries and the fallopian tube, but no vulva. So for the 300 women every year that are diagnosed with it, so it's a very rare cancer. Yeah. However, there's a lot of pre-cancer in that space. So because if it's not cancer, it's classed as pre-cancer, so they don't keep those statistics. And that's massive. So it's like 1 in 100,000 with cancer, but it's like 1 in 3 or something like that with pre-cancers. Oh, wow. So with and they can be caused by STIs or just a general, you can just get a pre-cancer, just like a genetic thing? Anything, you can get genetic stuff. Yeah, so and for a long time, all that was advertised or talked about or advocated about was, your breast cancer for women's cancers, breast cancer, cervical, ovarian, and then more recently uterine. But vulva cancer is killing a lot more people because it's left so long until it's checked. And
so would you recommend that that's something that people do check for?
Yeah, well...
Or what are the symptoms, would you say?
So there can be a lump. It can be something like a rash, which is not quite a rash, but it's called lichen sclerosis. Yeah. My biggest thing is just know your body. And it's kind of laughed about and ridiculed almost if you said to someone, I'm going to go and get a mirror and check out my lady bits. Yeah. but most women actually, I think it's like 3 out of 4 women don't realise that the vulva is not the vagina. So women will refer to their parts as the vagina, and the external, that's the internal, the tube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the external bit is the vulva. So now that kind of doesn't really matter in a sense, but actually it does, because so for my work, when I work with trauma and mental health stuff, women who've ever been child abuse, molested, attacked, abused, anything, assaulted, that terminology can get the perpetrator off. So it's really important that we teach our children this stuff, because if they don't know the right thing, and you would never hear a man saying, oh, my penis, and he was actually talking about his testicles, or vice versa, like my testicles, but he was talking about his penis, whereas that's what we do as women. And so quite often it's not a problem really in day-to-day speak, but actually in the significance of the entire thing with our mental health. So if you were attacked or raped and someone got off that charge, even though they were guilty, just because you called it the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's why
that's not okay. But and that affects our long-term mental health, and then it affects our, the mothers of those people, because they called it the wrong thing. And like it keeps the intergenerational trauma cycles going, and it's just got so much to it. It's a tiny thing in a massive thing.
It is, isn't it?
I'm very passionate about getting that stuff out.
Yeah.
And for women to understand how amazing we are, because in some of that, like in those pictures that the Cancer Council and the medical and in school, I remember the picture that was shown in reproductive health was a uterus with the fallopian tubes and the ovaries at the end. And actually the ovaries are not attached to the fallopian tubes. They're separate, and the fallopian tubes just know to reach down and capture the egg when it's released.
Really?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Isn't that a phenomenon? So every month, if you release an egg the normal way, that is a phenomenon, and it's amazing. And at microscopic photography, you get those really beautiful. Our uterus and our linings look like a coral reef. It looks as beautiful as the Great Barrier Reef. But what happens with that is it sheds and we have a period. And we think that that's gross and yuck and, oh, that's disgusting and it's bleeding. But actually that little micro culture within our uterus is like this Great Barrier Reef. Those cells, if you bled that much from anywhere else in your body, like every month, but in our uterus we've got different the veins, and they're different. They're a spiral shape instead of a straight sort of a thing. And so they shut off, and like that's a phenomenon. And if we were taught that in school, and if men were taught that the boys were taught that in school, they wouldn't be like, are you on your period? It'd be, let's let her have the day off sport because she's on a period. She's doing something amazing.
Yep.
It's just
I love the way that you put that. That's awesome.
Yeah. We are amazing.
We are, aren't we? Because you're even rewiring
without even telling ourselves what to do. We just do that.
You're already starting to reprogram the way that I think.
Yeah. But isn't that a sad thing that you had that other wiring and that was normal?
Well, actually, when I was in high school, only the sport excellence class were allowed to do sex education. So I didn't actually go through any of those classes.
Now that you mentioned that, I was exactly the same. My sport teacher did the health classes as well,
but only with because you have people that specialize in sport, I guess, the really sporty people, because they would talk about how they put the condom on the banana and stuff like that, and how they were learning all of this information. I promise you, I never and some of the people that I actually hung around with, we never had those classes.
Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 24.
Wow. So
I graduated in 2014.
So if the banana sex talk I had at uni, if I think back, which is a bit further ago, but a lot further ago.
I'm sorry.
But I still had sex ed at school, and that is almost unfathomable to me that that's still not a thing that's taught very naturally. But even yesterday, actually, in the program, I did discuss how sometimes that can be the case because of curriculums and the taboos and the social stuff. It all kind of feeds into each other, and everything has to tick boxes and be socially appropriate and things like that. And
whereas I'm always so eager to get information.
That's why teen pregnancies are still happening, because if someone taught you that when you're actually ovulating is you're fertile a couple of days before that, and how to read your body. Your body tells you everything.
Most definitely.
And you know, we didn't have all this stuff years ago.
Now, I basically learned a lot of that on my own. I went to a Christian school, and they did health education so differently to when I went from being in a Christian school to a public school. So I went from private to public, and the way that they just taught things were so different. So I felt like I didn't get much information out of being in a Christian school. Not because they weren't necessarily giving us information, but they weren't giving us enough, and they were also, you know, just trying to do the whole wait till marriage. It wasn't so much educating us on what to expect with your body when it came to periods, just what your body does, and you're not learning about it necessarily. They're just trying to teach you the religious views and ways.
And actually that in itself, like, because I was brought up in that Christian basis of life. That was our family's sort of philosophy. And it almost, knowing what I know now, it almost hurts me because
same.
Because if you believe in creation and all those things, we were created perfectly and wholly and completely, either form, male, female, and in every uniqueness of that, So whatever gender or whatever things, and the concept that like when you find out how amazing we are from that sort of space, as opposed to don't do this, don't do that. This is the rules, and I feel like it's really missing something in that Christian philosophy of a depth and beauty of who we are as spiritual beings.
For sure.
Because we were created so amazing. We're amazing. And if people knew that, even in churches, like if they knew that in Christian schools, like we should be celebrating that. And then people would be better people because they feel celebrated and whole and
most
complete
definitely.
And perfectly imperfect.
And they would love themselves more.
And they love themselves more.
Yeah.
And
that's such a big
And you
thing.
wouldn't resent 1 week a month. Like, you know, you end up bleeding for about, I think it's like 10 years of your life.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Like from puberty to menopause.
Yeah.
So imagine if you're hating yourself for 10 years of your life, even if it's only for 3 or 4 days at a time.
Yeah.
Like,
That's a lot of time.
to hate yourself in a lifetime.
Yeah.
As a woman.
I actually
Just for
got
being a woman.
I got the implant on when I was younger, and they said that you might not have your period for like long periods of time. It was the complete opposite for me. So I had my period for maybe 3.5 weeks out of the month, and then I wouldn't have it, and then I would have it to the point where I was just like, I can't do so I took it out, and I've not had any type of like birth control contraception like since then, because it pretty much traumatized me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to stop putting things that aren't meant to be in my body, because if it was meant to, you know, if I wasn't meant to do that, then it wouldn't be at this time of my life.
Yep.
Yeah, so yesterday I also mentioned that my next project is exactly the trauma of periods and trauma and periods, because trauma can cause differences in periods, but also periods can create trauma of their own. If you've got endometriosis or an issue that's not right, that you keep bleeding or whatever, then they can create their own trauma.
Yeah.
And then it feeds in. And then our libido drops and our sex and, you know, you don't feel good doing it. Like, it doesn't feel... It's not comfortable if you are trying to do that. And if you're bleeding for 3.5 weeks of the month, I mean, there's people who believe you can't do it during that time. There's people who still do it, whatever. I'm not going to put any judgments on anyone. And I'll totally give you any information either way.
Tips and tricks.
But it takes a toll and an impact. And
most definitely.
That's the stuff we need to be aware of. And as women, we need to talk more about it, because when we're aware of it, then we can empower each other to
Most
take
definitely.
action or go and get it out because it's not doing the right thing for you.
Yeah.
But in saying that, then that leaves you unempowered or disempowered to not be fully confident in when you can do it if you're not using any contraception, if you don't want to have an unplanned pregnancy and things like that. So
it's difficult to know.
You've got to navigate, and we just have to take that all on and we roll with it. And you know what? We do it so well that we've done it for hundreds of years, and we just do it. But
we just
time that we were able to step into that instead of having to do it and choosing when we want to do it.
For sure. I actually took contraception all up until I was about, I think I was like 14, 15, all up until I was 20 when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. And then I got back on it after I'd had her because I was worried about falling pregnant again right after, because you know that you're quite fertile, I think, after you've had a baby straight away. They always say, like, you got to wait a certain period of time, and then
Really?
yeah, and then after you've had a baby, that's actually a really big chance you can get pregnant right after you've had one.
See, I didn't know this.
I was worried because I was quite young. I wasn't quite ready, but, you know, we went with it, made it work. And then so I got back on contraception. It made me so sick, and I'd taken it for years, and now I've never been on contraception again since I'd had her, and I haven't had anything happen since. But I did find out I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is another reason why I haven't been able to
What's that?
So it's like cysts that grow on your ovaries, and it actually causes really bad blockages basically in your tubes. This is from my understanding. So it can the cyst will block your tubes, so it actually stops you ovulating as much, and you don't get periods very often. And it can be quite painful, but then other times it's like, I don't know, it's like it's given me such a hormone imbalance.
Yeah.
Too, so you can grow extra like bodily hair. You can be quite moody, weight problems, all sorts of different things, which you might be able to explain a lot further on.
Very good job.
Oh, thank you, because I'm only just learning about it myself. I only just found out recently, so it's been a really big thing for me. It's been an emotional roller coaster for me to find out, so it'd be really good to hear your opinion on that, actually.
Yeah, so so they call it PCOS, Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome, and it's cysts, but again, that's where our fallopian tubes don't join on to the ovaries.
Yeah.
So it's not quite blocking them, it's just stopping. So our ovaries are designed to create cysts.
Education lesson.
I just need my whiteboard. So we've sort of got 4 phases in our period, or 5 phases really, but 4 main ones. And so we've got our bleed and our menstruation. That's the first one. That's very easy to tell because we're bleeding. Now, the other thing actually, before I start this, women will have a cycle from the day they're born till the day they die. So, but the only time we are really aware of the cycle is during our time from puberty to menopause, when we have a monthly bleed or thereabouts. So we say monthly bleed because it's usually on a cycle, but there is shades of grey in there.
Yeah.
What happens, so then the next part of your cycle after you stop bleeding is the follicular phase, and that happens between sort of during the end of your period, but really from the start of your period to, and your period's shedding the lining because you're not pregnant. Then you have your follicular stage, which your hormones are changing and developing follicles in your ovaries to release an egg. So it will, it'll develop usually on one side, but they do have twins, for that reason. But it will develop sort of quite a lot of follicles in one ovary. Your ovary is about sort of a ping pong ball sort of size. It's not that shape. And then when you ovulate, one of those follicles will burst an egg because it's developed to a mature egg, and it will be captured by the fallopian tube or the uterine duct. Now, and then after that you go into your luteal phase, which is sort of it's kind of like the autumn so your ovulation is really high energy. We're really out there. If you don't have a period, you can sort of judge that based on the moon, because the moon is constantly a cycle. So, and usually that would be around the full moon because the energy is a bit higher and things, but that is variable as well. But and then you go into your luteal phase, which is your egg's been released. If you're pregnant, it's going to implant, and then you're not going to get a period. If you're not pregnant, it's going to pass, and then you're going to get your period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the sort of the autumn sort of phase. So if you sort of think of it, your follicular time is when it's like spring. All the new growth is coming. The leaves are nice and green, and the energy's kind of fresh and new and vibrant after a
That's when you're in your libido.
Yeah, well,
my new word I've learned today.
So it's your highest libido will be when you're ovulating, because your body is wired to procreate. That's what we're here on Earth to do. Make new generations to carry forth our human beings.
Yeah.
So, and in that time, those sort of 3 or 4 days of ovulation, our breasts are fuller, our skin is shiny, our hair's like full, and we are very attractive. Now, it's unconscious. People might notice, they'll be like, oh, you look great today. And you'll be like, oh, yeah, like because you feel great. Yeah. But you won't really know why unless you're tracking.
Yep.
Now, fun fact, 80% of affairs happen in the 3 days of a woman having her ovulation part of her cycle.
Wow.
Her testosterone's higher.
Yeah.
Her progesterone, her hormones are high, and it's very attractive, and the pheromones are there. So that's the time when you're going to be much more sexual feeling, because your body wants to make a baby. That's what it's designed to do.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. And it's very cool.
That is
Very cool. It's very cool to know.
Yeah.
It's very cool to know my space before what I do now was business. And if I had have known in sales, if I had have known what I know now back then, like I would have only had to work for about a week a month.
Oh, really?
And the rest of the month I could have Netflixed and chilled.
Please tell me how. Because I'm in sales as well and I don't want to do it.
But do you ever have days that you're really on fire with your sales?
Yeah.
It's usually around that time of the month.
Really?
Yeah, because your energy's right. It's really attractive to people. It's really, I think
Get it, girl.
Yeah. I'm so excited to
push yourself in those few days, go and do all your networking meetings and all your events and your social stuff. But what happens is we'll be feeling good in those days, even just on a social level. We'll be like, we'll book in coffee with all of our friends and for the next 3 weeks, and then we'll get totally overwhelmed and anxious, because then coming into more where we need to sort of shut down. We don't know. We'd just be like, oh my God, why did I do this? I don't want to people today.
I committed too much.
But just knowing that, sometimes you can just go, okay, I'll just need to leave that another week. And and then you can give your best to people, and you're not sucking from a part of you that's not there that you have to
I'm excited to know myself more. So now that I know these are some,
bring it on.
Even though it's subconscious, I can still try and be like, do I look like I'm glowing today? Am I close to my cycle? Should I buy a lotto ticket? I'm feeling lucky.
High vibing.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything to do with a lotto ticket.
Yeah. Hey, let me think about it, okay?
Do it. Tell us what happens.
I will.
The energy feels right.
Yes, I'll manifest it in those 3 days.
Definitely. Hey, my partner and I went to the casino and he did great, and he's like, I'm feeling lucky, and I was like, okay, I'm like just feeling normal.
Yeah.
I lost like $100 straight up.
Oh,
he just went
no.
massive and did well. So I don't know, maybe he has like a good ovulation period. No, I'm joking.
Men do have a cycle, but that's a totally different
topic. It's not men's. Yeah, exactly. I
don't know when that's November, I think.
Was there any other, I kind of think that I liked it. I think we had a really great conversation, but I don't know if we kind of went off topic, because you had period talks yesterday, and then all of a sudden we started talking about periods again, and I'm like, should we talk about sex, baby?
Well, I am very happy with whatever people want to ask or question.
Were there any main things that you kind of want to put out there, like main awareness things that do kind of relate to the sex and libido that we haven't spoken about?
Well, probably not, but as a general thing, on Thursday is International Gynecological Awareness Day.
Okay.
Oh no, not Thursday, Friday, the 10th of September. On the 11th, the Perth Bell Tower is being lit up, and that we're just having we've got an Undies for Better Understanding campaign.
Okay.
That is just all about just decorate some undies, like on cardboard, not real undies. Like we don't want to see your undies.
Oh, I thought we were having like a parade where we were all walking around in our underwear.
Totally can. But
I remember seeing like the purple bras that people would wear over top of their like clothes back in school. So I thought it might have been like that.
Yeah,
so, you know,
well,
you put your underwear over your clothes.
Well. Yeah. So I'm not an exhibitionist, so my husband would probably be all for that. But at the Perth Bell Tower is lighting up on Saturday night for Women's Health Week, and we'll be from 5 till 7. We've got some dancers, and just bring a picnic and come and join us and decorate a pair of, cardboard cutout undies and bring them along and have a photo with the bell tower as it's being lit up for International Gynae Awareness Day.
Yeah.
So.
That sounds so exciting.
It does. And family-friendly event as well. So
totally
take the little one.
Bring your picnic, or there's food places around there.
Yeah. Sounds like it would be a wonderful night.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you so much for coming in. Thanks for having a chat with us. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, same.
Probably going to go do some Googling or catch you out there later on. Ask you some more of my ever-going questions.
You'll never leave. No?
Yeah. Pretty much. Are you in tomorrow as well?
Tomorrow I'm joining you guys from Kwinana for Are You OK Day, Mental Health.
Perfect,
so
yes.
We'll flip it around a bit there, but there's a lot to do with women's health there as well. But
yeah,
doing
100%.
Are You OK Day thing. I've got some books, some I'm Not OK books that were written for people who were not feeling good.
Yeah. And where can we find those?
We'll have them there tomorrow.
Oh, okay, yep.
We'll have some there.
So that's in the Kwinana Shopping Centre?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. I'm just going to turn up where I'm from.
Yeah, cool.
So that'll be there. But otherwise, you can get them. Hotel Clipper has got some in their front reception that you can get some from. I can leave some here for people to come in and get them.
Yeah, perfect. And then if anybody is wanting to kind of use you or use you in your services, so you're the Major Breakthrough.
Major Breakthroughs is my business. Yeah. So I think I'm on Facebook. I think it's Major Breakthroughs with Kylie or something like that.
Yeah. Cool.
They'll find it.
Perfect.
And
men, women, everyone alike can come and talk to you. And not just about, sex and libido, but about any type of...
mental health.
Yeah, mental health.
Trauma and trauma recovery and all that stuff. But And otherwise, we've got the www.vivalafemme, VIVALAFEMME.com.au.
And that's your project that you're working on right now.
For the for Gynae Awareness Day and the Bell Tower this week.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I'm sure that we'll put some information up on our Facebook page as well, so that people can find easier links to you if they didn't have a piece of paper and a pen to write that one down. But thank you again so much, Kylie, for coming in. We've enjoyed having you.
Most definitely. It was lovely to meet you.
You too.
Yeah, perfect. Let's listen to some music now.
Yay.